I think, you know, when I listen to you, I really think as civil society advocates, we may have failed in educating our politicians on what public participation is. Because number one, you don't need a law. The principle is that sovereignty rests in the people of Kenya. And it's a national value. It's a requirement at every stage of engagement. So the point is, public participation means listening to the needs of Kenyans. Now, one of the needs of Kenyans and the cry that's all through the country is cost of living. So even as chair of JLAC, as a member of parliament, alongside other members of parliament, when the president expresses the wish to hire positions that may not be urgent, do you not have a responsibility as the people's defenders? Because the role of a member of parliament is to represent the needs of the citizen.
But are we...
You're first bound to the constitution. Second, your duty is to the constituents who elected you. And then you serve the party. So you have a role in terms of saying, yes, Mr. President, we recognize that this is a move that can assist you, you know, in political terms, maybe even in delivery, if you insist. But it's the wrong time because we are heavily indebted, we are overtaxing Kenyans, and we cannot afford to take money out of households, homesteads, out of the pockets of people and hire people who we do not need.
All right, you listen to me on this one.
This is what I mean when I say a hard-working parliament. But who are you working for?
Now,
because you're not listening to the very
let's see
basic
whether
needs of Kenyans.
whether we are listening to them or not listening to them. And depends on which side of the coin you're looking at. Number one, we've not said how many CASs are being employed. Provided these are Public Service Commission employees appointed by the president. Number one, we know for sure some of the ministers are overstretched. The cabinet secretary is overstretched. And it's an urgent need. Because when we did the retreat in Naivasha, one fact that came out were some of the CSs were not able to attend even to parliamentary matters because they are overstretched. So the need for CS arises, even if it's not to come to parliament to do parliamentary matters, maybe for delegation of the other matters that the CS is doing. So that brings the point of urgency, that in spite of that 50 or what number may not be urgent, there may be 5 or 10 that are very urgent. Okay. That's number one. Number two, the issue of taxation really is not going to be taken away or ameliorated by the fact that we've employed 5, 10 people, right?
Or 50 or 100.
Now, if you overblow it, and if there are reasons to do it, and you have the resources, there is no problem. But if you overblow it, there may be an element of cost to it, which the public may be questioning.
We've already seen indication 50.
If that is what
even if there are 5,
I
would say
that was then.
Yes.
Remember, the court came in to say if it were 23, it would have been comfortable. The president and every other person in authority is not oblivious of what courts observe. It's in the public domain, so we need to know what is happening. That's number one. Number two is these persons who you're saying their role is not defined. To be honest, these are people who are supposed to help the CSs.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? Because
the
even
CSs
before we get into what they assist, Kenyans are heavily taxed, paying for an entire machinery that's called the public service or the civil service, including the PS, including directors, including a whole battery of staff who work to serve Kenyans. Now, these are technical staff, but what is it that prevents the government from utilizing these people fully so that you can avoid bloating the wage bill? Because what we are seeing, this is a populist, it looks like an expansionist, populist move at a time when we cannot afford it. If we had a surplus.
In your engagements,
yes,
because you engaged extensively, like
yes,
you said on this.
Yes.
In your engagements, can you give us an example of an area where a cabinet secretary would need a chief administration secretary go and represent
that cannot be
Professor-
served by the
Nobody else can do.
Professor Kithure Kindiki.
Yes.
Maybe if I'm to single out one person.
Okay.
Not because he's from my constituency.
The
not
Minister
because-
for Interior.
The Minister for Interior. And
has
he
a permanent
he
secretary.
has several state departments.
Yes.
He has 2 or 3 permanent secretaries. Possibly 3.
Yes.
But I can assure you, you know very well he doesn't sit in Nairobi. He's always out there trying to deal with security matters.
Okay.
This person has many other commitments in Nairobi and also in other counties where he needs possibly to delegate to staff, junior staff to him, so that he's ably represented. Remember, the PS is not able to represent the CS because their roles are totally different. This other PS is the accounting officer of the State Department. He's the technical person. He's the one who develops policy. So his plate is already full. And that one of the CS is already full. While the technical person has many persons under him, the directors, the undersecretaries, and what have you. The CS doesn't have anyone. And this is why we have come in to say,
So let's say
we need
let's
a
take an
specialized
example.
person available to the CS
Yes.
to actually be doing the delegated work.
Excuse me,
The job
what
of this-
work does the
let me just use
CS
this
do
example.
that is not informed by policy, that is not informed by the technical?
Going by that example,
He has to attend
the
the
Minister
attending a
for
meeting.
Interior, for example,
Yeah.
has a State Department for Immigration,
Correct.
has a State Department for Coordination of Government,
Well,
right?
and correctional services.
And correctional services.
Yeah.
So let's say that the minister is attending to matters of passports.
Yeah.
And there's a matter of prisons that needs to be attended to.
Yeah.
Are you saying that there's nobody in the State Department for Correctional Services who could go and do that job? What
And,
is
and that
this?
the PS cannot.
No, you see what we are saying is,
What is it?
And
Is
why
it
can the
cutting away?
PS not?
What is it?
this other person is not charged with that responsibility. All right? He may be there for delegation. He may not be available for delegation. But when we have a person who has that responsibility bestowed on him by the law, that now makes it easier for the CS to actually delegate. And what we are doing is to define the law so that everybody knows what you are supposed to do. Because, let's be sincere and honest, sometimes there is tough war between CSs and principal secretaries as to who should tell the other what. What happens where there is such war tough?
The appointing authority.
The
clears
appointing
the air.
authority will have to come in and try.
Yes.
If that CS had a CAS, suppose there wouldn't be a problem when it comes to delegation. Because you delegate to a principal secretary, the person has technical work to do or other engagement elsewhere, and that is that. But when you have somebody who is directly under you, under the law, this is the person you are supposed to give the work to do for you.
Mheshimiwa, you brought in actually, it's a crucial dimension because